So we're here at Bitcoin Wednesday. I'm Justin Bonds from Cyber Capital, and here we have Paul from Edge Wallet.
Yes, from Edge,
I'm very excited to talk about today, since even back when you were called Airbit's, actually one of my favorite wallets in the Bitcoin space.
Thank you.
Incredibly user-friendly, giving people control over their own keys. Maybe that's a good place to start, actually.
Yeah.
How are the keys managed in the wallet? Do you control the keys for everyone, or do people have their own keys? Maybe you could explain that.
Yeah, exactly. So since we had launched as Airbit's in 2014, our big fundamental ethos was, let's make sure that the big value add of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin at the time, was that people control their funds, they send it peer-to-peer, there's no third party in the middle of that. And so we wanted to present that as the solution that we build, and Airbit's was exactly that, but also make it where even people that didn't care about that got it. People that were just like, hey, give me a wallet where I just create an account and log in. Make it feel like my mobile banking. Even those people got the true benefits of the ethos of cryptocurrency. Yes. Controlled keys, controlled funds, remove the middleman. And so yes, in Edge, just like in Airbit's and in our SDK, which we can talk about later, keys are always controlled by the user. But we try to compensate for what are the general human elements of users, and that we're imperfect, we mess up. We want to make sure that keys are always secured, encrypted, and backed up.
So how does that work? So the key is actually stored on the device itself when you set up the Airbit's wallet?
Yeah, so there's many different solutions where users control the keys and they're encrypted on the device, and some solutions also back up the key on a server. We do that as well. Yeah. However, with Edge and Airbit's, the key always also exists on the device, and the user can always decrypt that key with their password, even if we go away. Yeah. So even though we are a backup, we're not a primary necessity for people to use our platform. Yeah. Right. So our infrastructure is there to help the user, but it's not there and required.
Absolutely. And because the backup is encrypted with the user password, you don't have any access to the user's funds.
We don't have access to the data. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a key thing, is like we use the cloud. Yeah. So the cloud, when it first came around, 10, 20 years ago, became a huge convenience. The problem is we compromised a lot of privacy and security for that convenience. We use the cloud and we trusted it. What we're trying to build is a solution where we can still use the cloud, we just don't have to trust it to that same degree. Where we can use client-side, what we call edge security, secure the data at the edge, and then use the cloud as a backup and also as a means of communicating between these devices. So I lose my device, I log in on another one. It transfers the data over, but then decrypts it client-side. And I think that's a very fundamental, important difference. Cloud is not a bad thing, just trying to trust it as much as we have been doing for the past decade.
It strikes a nice middle ground, because from a user perspective, it's just a username and password to log in. I even remember in 2014, I set up my grandma with an Airbit's wallet just to show her, because it's just, I love that good user experience. I think that's incredibly important for adoption, and not everyone. We don't want this just to be for the engineers and the cryptographers and the computer scientists. That's something that I love Airbit's is doing as well. You guys are doing that really well.
And funny is you say that it's not just for the engineers and the crypto adopters and whatnot. If you think about it, we're trying to build for humans, and we're all humans. And I know many engineers that have the same problem that we're trying to solve. So with the problem of private key management, especially pretty much every solution that says, hey, write this thing down, you're being asked to do two polarizing things with this private key. If you've ever heard the term out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
So you're being asked to take this key and put it out of sight, but keep it in mind. Because where did I put it? And I've lost keys, many people I know have lost keys because you don't ever use them. They're just sitting as a backup. So even if you are a crypto enthusiast and an early adopter and an engineer, and I'm an engineer, this is still part of humanity. Yes. This is just how we work. It's hard for us to do this thing. So that's what we're trying to build, is a solution to that. And admittedly, you're right, the non-engineers, the non-early adopters definitely gravitate to that user experience. But even the power users that maybe have multiple cryptocurrencies, they don't want to deal with keys here left and right. Where a platform like Edge brings it together.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I can, from my experience in the space, I can see it happens to the best of us.
Totally.
Losing keys. Even some of the biggest experts in the space have lost keys before.
Absolutely. Yeah, even Satoshi, from what we can tell, probably lost some keys.
Well, I would hope so, at least.
Yeah, so we feel a little better, right? So we know that we're all imperfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So Edge, you're calling it a security platform, is that right? Maybe you could explain that, because that's more than just being a wallet. you're really expanding
in that idea.
To be more than just a wallet. Maybe you could explain what that means.
So when we built Airbits, we built a whole lot more than just most wallets do. Most wallets are not really a key manager. They're like, hey, user, here's the key, go take care of it. We're going to go talk to the blockchain and query and sign transactions and whatnot, but it never really did anything with the key for you. It just said, hey, go write this thing down, you deal with it.
Yeah.
Edge put almost 80% of our effort, Airbits at the time, put 80% of our effort on how do we manage the key. Make sure that that key is encrypted as soon as it's created, make sure it's backed up, make sure it's synchronized, allow people to change password, allow people to log in with a PIN that also can decrypt the key using split key encryption, all fancy stuff, and even have password recoverability and automatic two-factor authentication where you just enable it with a button. There's no SMS, no email. We built so much around making security of that key really, really easy and invisible and usable. So we realized, especially with the explosion of other cryptos and of decentralized apps, that every dApp is a wallet. Right? Every dApp is a wallet, except that it does more than send and receive. It actually transacts with smart contracts and does voting and staking and whatnot. In a way, Edge and Airbits, they're dApps too, but they just send and receive. You can think of it as a wallet and a dApp are the same thing. One just does a lot, one doesn't do as much. They're the same thing. So we realized all these other apps have the same challenge of key management. So we said, let's take that part of Airbits that we fundamentally think is at the heart and soul of our company, what's unique about us. Let's turn that into a platform, a key management security platform that you can put into any dApp, whether mobile, web, desktop, and allow that dApp to have the same experience for its users that Airbits has for our users.
Wow.
Where you just create an account and log in.
Yeah.
And then to take it like that extra step forward, we said, okay, well, it's nice that all these users of all these dApps can just create an account and log in, but it's still inconvenient to create multiple accounts. Right. Especially you got your loan app, your hedging app, your insurance app, who knows, your social media app.
That's a lot of signing up.
That's a lot of keys. That's a lot of signing up and a lot of keys.
Key management's a nightmare.
It would be a nightmare. If you didn't have Edge, it's a total nightmare. Now it's like 24 words and files, JSON files left and right.
Yeah.
With Edge, it's a little easier in the sense that you've just got an account you can create. But with Edge Login, which is another thing we created, you can use your account on Edge Wallet and actually sign into these different apps by just scanning a barcode.
Wow.
And it actually creates an encrypted wallet inside the app. It automatically backs it up and then links it to your Edge Wallet account.
Wow.
So all in one, scan a barcode, you're done. There's nothing else to back up. If you have two-factor on your account, that's two-factored. If you have password recovery set up, that's already set up. Your PIN already works on there. So it really makes it super seamless. I think you're going to see that over the next year as more dApps start to kind of utilize the platform, how easy it is to sign in onto these different apps.
So we could see Edge becoming almost like a single sign-up type application. Could we maybe even describe it as a type of decentralized LastPass even? Maybe that's too much of a stretch.
No, it's not. It's not a stretch at all. But instead of calling it a decentralized LastPass, I'm more hesitant to use the word decentralized nowadays because it's so ill-defined. Instead, it's LastPass baked into the app. So instead of LastPass being this other app, and remember, the user experience is important. Do you like having to copy and paste keys and passwords from LastPass to the website?
No, it makes me very nervous.
It's a little nervous, yeah, exactly. So how about if your app actually baked LastPass into it?
Yeah.
And so when you log into it, it decrypts your LastPass. Yeah. And each app almost has a different LastPass folder that it has access to. Amazing. So instead of it having like one app having access to your entire LastPass account, in each one of the apps, each one has its own little wallet or its own folder of keys. But they're all encapsulated under an umbrella account, which is your Edge Wallet account. So you only have one password to encrypt all of them.
Yes.
But each one only has access to its keys. So for a security measure, one app can't access all of your funds. It only accesses its own wallet. But in the future, you'll have the opportunity to share wallets between apps if you wanted to. And that can be a convenience. You've got two dApps. They're both Ethereum. They transact their own tokens, but they need a little bit of gas. So why don't I share $10 of Ethereum between these two dApps?
Yeah.
So in the future, you'll be able to do that with Edge. In the meantime, you're just creating separate wallets for each of these apps.
Absolutely, I think that's
cool.
That's amazing. Have you looked into setting up Lightning nodes at all for?
No, we haven't looked at setting up specifically Lightning nodes. We've looked at Lightning as a technology, and so I've gotten into many discussions, very heated debates and discussions with people that love and hate Lightning. And while I think that there is a need, so I tend to stand on the side of, from the scaling debate, we need both. Like we're going to need larger blocks. But we definitely should be looking at layer 2 scaling solutions because we don't know what limit we might hit with larger blocks. And so I was pro 2x. Let's just go ahead and increase the block size. 2 megabytes won't kill us. But in looking at Lightning, I was one of the early proponents of it. telling some people that had never heard of it. I was their first introduction to Lightning. There are a few challenging unanswered questions on how it gets implemented. And so I'm keeping my ears close to the ground and seeing what people are proposing for problems such as routing, receiving when offline. Like right now, if you're an end user, you can't receive if your device is offline.
That's right.
And that's a pretty key feature. I'd like to be able to receive money even when my phone's not on or my computer's not on. And so some of those key challenges and the watchtower issues, it's doable, but it's kind of a security user experience challenge.
To me, it definitely doesn't seem ready yet.
That's
my impression, and at least in terms of a good user experience and something that's reliable. Because you're also adding extra steps to...
You're incredible extra steps. You're adding a fully different user experience that's not compatible with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And so I'm known on Twitter as the guy that calls Lightning an altcoin. And I say that semi-lovingly in the sense that I love altcoins.
Right. I understand,
but my point being that the user experience to the end user, while it is pegged to Bitcoin, so the price will be about the same.
Sure.
The user experience will feel like, oh, I'm going to transact Lightning Bitcoin or Bitcoin. I'm going to have a balance in Lightning Bitcoin or Bitcoin, or I'm going to have a balance in Lightning Litecoin or Litecoin. It's not going to feel like, hey, here's my Bitcoin wallet. I'll send it over Lightning, or I'm going to send it over main chain, on chain. It'll definitely feel different. And my concern is that any attempts to merge them together will actually create some pretty poor user experience for the users. And so I'm still, like I said, ears to the ground. I'm listening to the people that are developing. I'm in good contact with some huge fans and developers on Lightning. And so people think I'm a hater because I actually bring up the challenges. And that's not me hating. That's me bringing up the honest questions. I'm like, hey, what are the answers to these? And so right now we're not expending a lot of engineering effort on this. We're expending kind of ears to the ground effort.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I suspect Edge will be one of the first people to implement it if these problems are solved.
If they're solved, we're going to start rolling with implementing it. We're probably not going to be the first because some other projects, that's all they do. Like that's the only thing they're working on is Lightning. They already have wallets working today, and it's on mainnet transacting. And so when some of those problems are solved, obviously they just apply the fix for us, and then we start. That's when we start kind of pushing forward with engineering. We're still a small team, and we have to make smart decisions as what do we expend our engineering on.
I definitely say stick with a good user experience. I think that's incredibly important. Also in the face of competition.
And there's a huge demand for a lot of other cryptocurrencies that are, in use, especially in the exchanges. And so we got to listen to the user base, and some of those aren't in this early phase. Like we already know what the user experience will look like for some of these other currencies. So there's less unknown. So we're pushing forward with some of those, and you're going to see some cool ones launch pretty soon in Edge.
I'm looking forward to that. Absolutely. So. Because it's a single sign-up type idea with the Edge security platform, how do you see the relationship between Edge and a project like Civic that's also tied to the single sign-up? Is there a synergy there?
There's a total synergy there. So the one thing that we find is that there's no one doing what Edge is doing with respect to securing keys. A lot of platforms say, hey, let's take that key that you've already figured out how to secure yourself, right? You write it down, put it in a safe. Now let's use that key for single sign-on into centralized services. Let's allow us to take that key and sign a message that proves our identity, like a U-port. In the same sense as Civic, prove our identity. Prove that we're 21 and buy a beer. I love how Civic did that over at Consensus. I thought that was great. But what Edge does is it says, well, let us secure that key for the user where they don't have to write it down. And let's do that with multiple apps. So it could be your Bitcoin wallet. It could be your Augur, your Augur hedging prediction market application. And it could be your identity app, such as a Civic. That's where we single sign on. We single sign on to various decentralized apps. One of those apps can be an identity app that lets you sign into banks, hotels, restaurants, and whatnot. So that's kind of how we vision ourselves. Not that we're necessarily the single sign on to everything. We're solving a single sign on that no one else can do, which is single sign on into secure encrypted data. How do you give multiple applications, even apps that have no server, how do you give them access to an encrypted blob of data, such as private keys for cryptocurrency? That's what we're solving, and no one else that I've seen in the space is really targeting that.
That's amazing. That's exciting. So actually, I could see having my Civic key if I need some sort of, say, I want to buy a beer. I could actually have that within my Edge app.
You can have that in the Edge app, or depending, of course, on conversations with Civic. Civic could incorporate Edge, the SDK, a platform inside their app. And then you'd be able to create an account and log in into an app like Civic, and then it would decrypt your key and then use your key inside of Civic the way it would normally.
Fantastic.
Maybe
you can explain that more for people at home. What is the SDK? How does that
the
fit
SDK.
into
So
this?
an SDK is a software development kit. You can think of it as a toolbox for software developers, much like carpenters have their toolbox of tools. So for Edge, we built a toolbox that allows decentralized app developers to present to their users an interface of just simply, hey, create an account and log in. Create a username and password and a PIN, and then log into our decentralized app. But what that does is it actually creates keys, private keys for like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and then it automatically encrypts them. So as a user, you don't end up having to deal with encryption tools. It automatically backs them up to the cloud, so you don't have to deal with putting it in Dropbox, which I know a lot of people do. And then it automatically synchronizes it between your different devices. So you don't have to deal with, okay, download it from Dropbox, decrypt it, put it into my wallet on another computer or phone. It does all of that, and it hides it behind the user experience of just log in.
Great.
So you lose your phone, you log into another phone. Or you just have a phone and a tablet, you just log into both. And that's a toolkit that you can put into your app if you're building a decentralized app. And in the end, it's just securing data, right? Private keys are just data. They're just a string of data.
That's right.
So in theory, they don't have to just be private keys. They can be any kind of data. So we imagine that people could build apps that secure personal information and notes, financial records. And all of that data can be secured and encrypted, just like private keys, automatically backed up, and then automatically synchronized between devices. So you can log in on your computer, on your phone, and see your financial records on both, but be fully private, secured on the edges. You know, that's what our kind of long-term vision is. Start with the crypto, start with the blockchain. We care about private keys and security of those keys the most. But in the end, once we put an edge secured wallet into the hands of people, we can now build apps around that security model and now really privatize software, right? Make software private and secure again, and not just make it where the cloud has all of our information.
Yes.
And that's what we're excited about. But we'll start with crypto.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting. I love that. Any particularly notable projects you're working with integrating the Edge
exactly.
wallet?
So Augur's in the process of integration. They were integrated, but then we refactored the code, made it a bit more, patched a few kind of HTML browser security stuff, and redeployed it under a new API. So it's in the process of integration again. So it should go in time for their release in July. They announced the July 9th release. We're also on a decentralized app, Endorse, which is kind of like a LinkedIn, with staking of tokens for you to validate people's actual profiles. People don't just lie about what they did, right? So it's a nice use case for smart contracts and dApps, as well as Wings and Open Ledger.
I see.
And a few that haven't announced yet. Anthem, Gold, Herc, they're doing supply chain for gold and other assets, and they're taking our mobile app, or mobile SDK, and using it for key management in their app. So quite a handful, and more are coming as they're realizing, especially these dApp projects, they're so focused on like the smart contract and the dApp. But once they start getting into release, they're like, oh my God, these keys. Do we really want to just shove a key to our user? 24 words to our user. And that's when they start going, and then when we come around, they're like, oh, this is perfect.
That's when you have the ready built solution.
The ready built solution is
easy to use, user experience.
You plug it in for developers. It's about 3 to 5 lines of code, and you get all the UI for a user to create an account, log in, back up their keys automatically with just a super small amount of code you write in your app.
Improving security on the edge.
Yep, trying to move security to the edges of the network. And like what we say, in every network topology, you see like the servers here in the middle, and then like the lines going out, the network connections, and at the edge of the network are your phones and computers.
Yes.
But at the very edge
I see.
are people.
I see.
We're the furthest on the edge of the network, right? We're the furthest away from the servers, people. And that's where we're trying to secure the data.
It's the part where people interact and have the experience.
We're trying to bring power back to the people for owning and controlling our data. And there's so many projects that say this. This is like, you hear it like every other day. We're trying to get people to own their data again. You ask any of them, what does it even mean to own their data? Most of them say like, okay, well, we're going to give you money if you give it to us. I'm like, that is not owning your data. Our definition is no one sees it but you. That's a very clear-cut definition. You own it in the sense that no one can see it but you. Yeah,
that's crypto right there.
That's crypto. Like no one can spend your money but you. No one can see your data but you. So if you share it, that's another matter. But with our platform, only you control it. And so, any other project that claims to be offering people, the power to own and control your data, I ask them that first.
True ownership.
Yeah. What is
freedom.
Ownership? Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yours.
I love it.
Cool.
Hey, thank you very much.
No, thanks for having me.
To you here today.
Pleasure as well. Yeah, good to be here in Amsterdam.
Big
awesome.
Fan.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Take care.
Thank you.